host, independent designer and illustrator, Brianna Christine Gibson. I'm super excited to bring my first episode of the year 2016. You know that this year is going to be better than last year because I keep showing up for you, yes, you listening, every week, and that's the way life works. You get back the value that you put in. At least that's what I was told in my last interview that I had just before the year ended for a traditional design job not too far away from my house. I say traditional because my true full-time job is creating this podcast, the Brianna Christine Designs blog, and other resources and other creative fun stuff. It doesn't take place during a 9-to-5 schedule, but rather in the margins of my life that I create intentionally. I'm no more special than anybody else. I just follow my creative calling, and I hope to inspire you to do the same. Really quickly, I wanted to talk about why I am getting a traditional job when I am in pursuit of a full-time business. Some of you know that I am in a position where I can pursue my business full-time for the most part, while my husband takes care of most of the bills in the family. So I've met some opposition from the outside as well as inside my own head about how supportive he could be of me when he's encouraging me to get this traditional job. So here's my reason. It's not his, it's mine. I am not only an entrepreneur, that's not the only way I view myself. I view myself as many things, one of those things being that I am a wife. So together, my husband and I have previously communicated goals that are agreed upon that we would like to achieve together. So sometimes I may have to take work that I don't like in order to pursue that obligation. And that's an obligation I chose and I willingly choose to this day. The same thing goes for my business. It's an obligation to my soul in a way, so I must maintain that as well. But if I support one and I neglect the other, I'm breaking my responsibilities that I have chosen. And if I can't maintain the responsibility that I've willingly given to my spouse, how can I maintain my responsibility that I try to bring to my business? Anyway, that was just something I kind of wanted to put out there. It's a little more personal. Now on to the good stuff. It's not a complete tangent because I began reading this book by Steven Pressfield that touches slightly on this topic in his book, The War of Art. During the last days of 2015, I started reading this book. It was recommended by several artists that I admire, as well as a group of creative business owners that I met up with in the the San Diego chapter of AIGA. Within the first few pages of reading this book, I was completely drawn in. It spoke a truth that I always knew inside of me, but I just couldn't quite put it to words so eloquently. It reminded me of this other book I read last year called The Secret. Both of these books talk about how there is this force in the world you can't really explain, although people try to give it names like God or energy, or if you like Star Wars, Star Wars just came out. I saw that with my husband on our anniversary. The Force. Both of these books talk about how this force is always at work. It's either pushing you forwards towards your goals or backwards away from it, depending on which way you let it. These books explain how you can partially become in control of these happenings so that you don't feel like life is just happening to you. These are both great books. I recommend them both. But the difference between The Secret and The War of Art is that The Secret focuses mainly on the ways that the Force helps you get what you want, while The War of Art focuses on the power that is working against you, keeping you from getting what you want. And the author, Steven Pressfield, calls this the resistance. I'm only halfway through the book at this point, but it's amazing the amount of insight I've gained so far. Part of what makes this book so amazing is its layout. So I want you to picture this page, and every few pages there's just this large header with a pretty concise paragraph. Some of the pages they're not even full page paragraphs. He really just gets straight to the point with each headline, so you feel like you get really good value really quickly. And not only is this information really concise and awesome, easy to digest, but if you're like me and you read something, you're like, wow, that makes me want to go take some action. Well, you feel like you have a good stopping point because you know you can just pick back up on the next header and you don't feel like you're reading pages and pages and pages of information, and if you leave and come back, you're not going to remember where you left off. So just the design of the book, the information in the book, all amazing. So why is the information so amazing? Because it touches on this part of you that is keeping you from doing your life's work, from doing your creative calling. The text stares you in the face and it says, you have no one to blame but yourself. Get out of your own way and start right now. It gives a face and a name to the fears and doubts you face so that you can recognize them when they hit you. And really, this book seriously came to me at the most perfect time. Resistance was getting the best of me towards the end of this year. I've always considered myself a creative entrepreneur on the inside. Slowly, it has manifested itself on the outside, but not nearly at the rate I would like. As I took 2 weeks off from blogging and podcasting to plan for the next year, which Steven Pressfield would say is a form of resistance, I took the time to listen to others' stories, hoping to maybe gain some stroke of inspiration. I heard a story on the TED Radio Hour from NPR, one of my favorite podcasts, from Ellen MacArthur, who is the fastest person to sail around the world. And when she sailed around the world and broke her own record to be the fastest person to sail, she did it at my age, at 25. And when you're looking for inspiration, don't these stories suck? You're like, our brain, it starts to attack us and it's like, man, this person is clearly more successful, more focused than I'll ever be. I've never done anything that extraordinary. Well, everybody should know that their success should not be compared to the successes of others for many reasons. In any case, this is where my brain went, and I started this inner dialogue of, well, how selfish that she abandoned real life in pursuit of this silly goal. What did she really contribute to the world by doing that anyway? And I continued to follow this path of resistance. Further, I called my best friend Deanna, who I would have called anyway, but it's also awesome that she's studying to be a therapist. I told her how I didn't understand people like Ellen MacArthur, who could be so selfish to pursue such silly dreams and goals when there were much more practical things that needed to be done in life. Being the good friend that Deanna is, she let me express myself regardless of her agreement or disagreement with my statement. She then insightfully told me that I was trying to find where God was in my own work, and I couldn't see him. She said that's what I was really struggling with, asking myself, where is God in all of this? How does it fulfill my purpose? Man, she is good. She hit the nail right on the head. But then I said, how do I know when I'm planning my day which thoughts are for me and which are from God? How do I recognize my calling? Pray for discernment, she said. She was on a roll, and props to you, Dee, if you are listening to this or if you're reading this on my blog in the future. She was totally right, and now I have this wonderful book by Steven Pressfield, The War of Art, to help me find this discernment. I'm sure that by the time I get to the end of this book, I will have a much clearer understanding of not only how to recognize these demons, but how to overcome them. Besides, the answer is already inside of me. Steven is just reminding me what it is. To get this reminder inside of yourself, buy Steven Pressfield's book, The War of Art, on Amazon right away. You won't want to start your new year without it. The link to the book will be available on my blog, the Brianna Christine Designs blog, both on WordPress and on Tumblr. To keep up with everything that I'm doing, Brianna, you can find me on facebook.com/Brianna Christine Designs. I love when people write me a message about questions they have or just to say hi. And you can find new episodes of the Creative Calling podcast, just like this, every Sunday here on SoundCloud. To get awesome 15-second sound bites from this episode, along with fun animations and illustrations by yours truly, head over to Instagram at creative.calling. And until next time, Happy New Year, everyone.